So you want to take beautiful photos at Disney? Are you willing to stay late, let the group go home, hang out for a little bit? It's not that hard. Start with a good camera. It's kind of optional, but it does make it a little easier to get some of those great photos that you see online. At night, we're going to be using long shutter speeds. So either find a small tripod that fits in your backpack. Disney does allow that. No selfie sticks, no long monopods, but again, a small tripod that'll fit in a backpack is a possibility. The other option, just get really good at hand holding, get really good steady hands. You can find places to brace yourself against an object or maybe a trash can even, all sorts of different things you can find to use to brace. So here's some photos I've taken. All of these are taken on a Fuji X-T4. It's a mirrorless camera with a APS-C sensor. Does just fine for me. I think it takes stunning photos. Right now I've coupled that with a Fuji 16 millimeter wide angle, obviously, prime 1.4 aperture lens. Just makes it a little easier to take some of those handheld photos. Most of my exposures are in the 1/15th to 1/30th, and we'll go through a couple of those right now. All right, so let's start out this first shot I got here. I'm calling this the streets of Batuu. Basically just some creative angles to keep everybody that was still here. There's a little cantina around the corner, but kept them out of the photo for the most part. This is unedited, just color grading, and that's all. This was taken obviously at 16 millimeter on my prime, f1.4, 1/30th of a second, ISO 1600. All right, here's a second shot, also in Batuu. The domed area in the middle there, that's where Ronto Roasters is. There's a little cafe / restaurant. Just the colors in this just look stunning to me. You can see some of the big rocks in the background. Just beautiful lighting in this area. This one, f2.2, ISO 1600 and 1/30th of a second exposure time. Here's a shot of one of the T-70 X-Wing fighters used by the Resistance. First see this in episode 7. Just a cool shot. Got some of the smoke or fog coming out of the, what I would assume would be like the fuel refueling ports. This particular shot is also 16 millimeter, of course, f5.6, 1/15th of a second, and ISO 6400. Next shot here, this is the entrance to Rise of the Resistance, the ride. You can see the lightning lane stuff there on the right. Just thought this was great, little turret, just clean area. This looks great. This one also f2.2, 1/30th of a second, ISO 3200 on this one though. Last but not least, I don't think any slideshow of photos taken in Batuu or Galaxy's Edge at Hollywood Studios here would be complete without a photo of the hero ship, Millennium Falcon. So this one, f2.0, 1/60th of a second, and ISO 4000. Photos just cleaned up real good, just cool lighting. The color temp is a little weird on this one because the mountains behind are very blue, but everything else is white with, some light yellow lights. Just a great photo. Hard to take pictures of this thing. Even later in the evening, there's always people standing around this. But here you are. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. I'll be posting some more of these. I've got a bunch I took at Tron and Magic Kingdom that I'm going to be posting soon. All right, so now you've seen some of the pictures I've taken at Disney. So I just want to kind of go over a few things. One, again, shutter speeds are going to be dependent on how the quality of the lens you're using, right? So and the quality of the camera a little bit too. ISO's ISO speed, right? So the higher the ISO, the grainier the image is going to be. Some cameras do significantly better at high ISO and as far as grain. So you got to balance that. F-stop, right? So now you've got, the two things that your f-stop or aperture affects. You've got, obviously depth of field. When you're taking really wide angle shots of an area and you are far enough away, then you actually can still get most of the frame in focus even with really low f-stop numbers, high aperture, like wide open aperture sizes. So that's why I'm able to get away with these 1.4s and 2.0s when I'm shooting at night, these kind of landscape type scenes, right? So everything for the most part is in focus. And if we dial it up just a little bit to like f2 or even f2.8, then even more is in focus when we're as far away from the items as I am in these photos. So f-stop, it does matter. So a faster lens is going to be helpful in this sort of thing. The other thing is a wide angle allows you to really get closer to things. So the available light there seems to be more available light when you're closer to the things that are lit up. So you'll get a little bit better, in my opinion, a little bit better results going with the wider angle lens. Again, I'm shooting with the 16 millimeter on an APS-C sensor, so that's really more like 22-ish millimeter, maybe 23 millimeter if you're comparing it to like, standard full frame. It seems to work out just fine for me. I did just buy a 12 millimeter lens, have not really taken enough photos with it to get to use it yet or to get to know it yet, but I'm hoping it's similar, just even wider angle, obviously. And then the other thing, shutter speed, right? So you don't want to go too high of ISO because you want to watch your grain. You can't go any lower f-stop number probably because depending on your budget for a lens, you may be stuck at f4 or something like that. So then the thing that kind of like to get the right exposure, the one thing that you really do have a lot of control over is of course shutter speed. I can handhold something in the 1/15th, 1/30th of a second, no problem. Some people can't, and that's okay. It's one of those things that you got to try. And sometimes you may need to get a tripod out, get creative. There's plenty of small tripods that fit, that'll hold, a mirrorless or an SLR, that'll, only give you 6 or 12 inches of height. Maybe it's something you set on a trash can or something somewhere, brace yourself against a wall while you're hand holding, that sort of thing. So again, there's so much that goes into it that you just have to balance those three. The other thing I can say is just take a lot of photos. Photos are free, right? So maybe you want to bracket a couple, so you do a little bit slower shutter, medium, and then a little bit faster shutter. So you can, when you get home and you look at these on a computer, you can actually see like which one of them is going to be the best in terms of exposure to start out with, of course. So don't hesitate to take a bunch of photos. If you take 200, you might end up with 10 to 20 good ones, hopefully. Or less, or more. It just depends. There's so many variables that go into it. But again, clicking the button's free as long as you're using an actual digital camera, of course. So yeah, definitely don't hesitate to take a bunch, bracket if you need to. And yeah, hope this helps. If you have any questions, feel free to, post in the comments below. I'm happy to, make a new video with any of the other stuff. But again, all of this really just I just love taking photos, and I can't travel to take a lot of photos, so I've got to find a place where I can get some good subjects. And at Disney, I may have to stay there a little late, but it's places packed with great things to take pictures of, great lighting, just beautiful sights. So best of luck out there, and hit me up if you have any questions. Then the last thing that I'm not great at teaching somebody, I may not even be great at it myself, is composition. Getting rule of thirds, of course, is a thing, and all sorts of different things. And some of that's really hard to do, especially when you're taking photos of ships like the Millennium Falcon that take up the entire frame, because you can't get far enough away from them to get the angle that you want, kind of thing. So again, creativity definitely plays a role here. But again, I'm not the most creative when it comes to setting up framing, so hopefully you can make it work as well.